Hello, my name is Margaret Adele, and I am a DNFer. I fully believe that if you're not feeling that book or for whatever reason it's not giving you what you need, you should walk away. And you can't get back the hours you spent on a book you didn't like, and likely you probably won't feel good if you finish that book. So I've compiled a list of 19 confessions of my DNFing habit. And I will try not to talk too much about each of them because I don't want this to be half an hour long. But I'm hoping to make this into kind of like a mini series where I talk about the confessions of my random reading habits. So let's jump right in. The first one is, I have DNF'd a book 10 pages in. This is especially true with library books, because my thought is I didn't pay for it. I don't have to read it. So I'll just try 10 pages, close it, send it back to the library. I don't continue a series if the first book is less than 4 stars, because while 3 stars isn't a bad review, it's not enough for me to put in the time for a whole other book in that world if I didn't love the first one. And that's why it's part of my review policy. If I review the first book in your series and it's a 3-star or less, I will not be continuing because I gotta focus on the series that are really, really worth my time for me and I'm really invested in. If I read that series and the first book was a 4-star, but there's a book later on in the series that's a 3-star or less, you get one pass. One pass of a 3-star or less book. If there is a second, I will DNF the series again because I do not need another maximum ride situation. I will stop reading a book or a series if I decide that my self-insert daydreams are more fun. This is not something I have talked about a lot on my channel or in life, but while I have not really written much fanfiction outside of the Alethea fanfiction I am currently writing, I have done a lot of self-insert daydreams for stories. Anything from Twilight to National Treasurer, and I haven't done it as much recently because I need to be able to finish the books I'm reading. Alethea being the standout because my character does not interact with any of the main characters in that story, so it works. The problem with this is that I will usually insert myself as a character, but there are things like I'll give myself a whole family, and I'll usually give myself a secondary love interest because I don't want to steal any love interest from anyone else. So as a result, I will usually end up creating this whole extra little cast of characters, this whole extra plot lines to fit myself into this world. And as a result, I will functionally change how the plot goes in my head. And if I decide that I really like that, I'll just stop reading the book so that it won't be ruined for me. That's why I never finished The Mortal Instruments after they added the second trilogy. Never continued, because in my mind, I already had what my character did post the end of the 3rd book, and I don't need to have that ruined. If you're really interested in that, I can do a video on some of the self-insert stuff I've thought up. That might take a little bit to get my confidence up, because again, I don't really talk about that. But if you're interested, let me know. I have DNF'd a series before because the first book felt complete enough. This is especially true with Until the End of the World by Sarah Lyons Fleming. This is a post-apocalyptic story, and I felt that the ending of the first book, despite this being a 4-book series, just worked for me. And I decided, well, I like this ending. I don't need to see it undone. I'm good. So sometimes DNFing a series is a kind of a good thing, I guess. At least a compliment. At any given time, I have at least 2 bookmarks in some books somewhere. The amount of times I have picked up a book from my shelf and opened it only to find there's already a bookmark in it, 100 pages in from like a year ago, all the time. Happens all the time. At any given time, half of my bookmarks are somewhere else. I have DNF'd books that I objectively thought were well written just because I wasn't feeling it, which also goes into being a mood reader, which is another confession video I want to make, but if it's not gelling with my brain, I might not entirely DNF it for good, but I'll definitely walk away from it for the short term. I am a cinnamon roll, and I will avoid continuing a book for weeks or up to months because I know that what is coming next in the series or the story is life or death, and I don't know that I'm prepared to handle it. That was especially true with the Shadow Campaign series, where I put off reading I think it was the 5th book for forever, because like I knew it was really big stakes, and I knew the author was not afraid to kill off characters, even characters that had like been named and been in their story for like whole books. So I literally pushed it off because like, no, I'm not ready. As I am a repeated DNFer, I do not consider DNFing a book to be inherently a bad thing. I will DNF a book because it is bad, but a book is not bad just because I've DNF'd it, if that makes any sense. So if I say I DNF'd this book, don't necessarily take that to mean that it was inherently bad. This next confession is a little bit of a hot take, and I forgot I put this on this list. And that is, I feel the completionist nature of BookTube with TBRs, challenges, and wrap-ups penalizes DNFing and encourages readers to continue with books they dislike. And that I wholly agree with. Even though I wrote this months ago and I forgot I included that. I DNF'd Gideon the Ninth for Witchathon. And at the time, I felt really guilty about it because I'm like, oh, it's a readathon. I have to read it. But I wasn't feeling it. And the book I picked instead really gelled with me. And I feel like we gotta come up with something. Some kind of video system where you can actually not encourage it, but at least not feel bad for just not wanting to finish a book. This next confession is also a little bit of a big thing. I have DNF'd permanently books that were sent to me for review. Now, this has only happened twice. And in both cases, when I explained to the author, I cannot do this, they were very gracious. But it was a wake-up call that I need to get real picky with what books I asked for review, because that was nerve-wracking. But yes, it is possible that I will DNF a review book. I will not DNF it for the same reasons I will DNF the books I read just for fun. It usually will have to be a case of writing style or something very problematic in the plot that I just can't get past. But it's a thing that's happened before. The number one cause of my DNFing is the protagonist complaining, and that holds true throughout pretty much any genre. The number one issue I have with protagonists is them complaining about their life in depth. Because it's like, if you don't like your story, why should I? And the number two reason is stupid or offensive plot twists. This is especially true with one of the only one-star books I have, because I don't usually finish one-star books. I usually DNF them. But there was one case where there was a sexual assault scene that was between two people, both of whom were supposed to be good guys, including the one doing the assaulting. And I was like, yep, nope, I'm done. While I am a consummate DNFer, I also believe that it is really important to give an author a second chance if you have DNF'd one of their books, especially if it has been a while, or it's in a different genre, or you just really like the plot synopsis, or you just want to try again. The difference here being that if there was something really, truly heinously offensive in the first one, and you're like, I don't want to put myself through that again, valid. But beyond that, I believe it is always prudent to give the authors a second chance. My DNFing strategy is not so much about I am actively trying to quote-unquote hurt or cancel authors I don't like, as much as it is I have this gigantic TBR filled with books that I'm never going to get all of them to, so I'm not going to spend time on a book that I am disliking or that may be problematic when there are hundreds of others that I'm excited to get to. So it's less of I'm actively hating on this so much as I am freeing up my time to focus on something that I will like more. I believe forcing yourself to finish a book you do not like does a discredit both to you and the author, because if you really hated it in the beginning, even that great plot twist near the end is not going to magically make it a 5-star. So you're not going to be given the best review to the author, even though you knew you didn't like it early on, and also you can't get that time back. So like, you've just wasted time on reading a book you didn't like, and now the author gets a bad review. No one wins. I believe that a bad ending can ruin a good book, but I don't necessarily believe that a great ending can save a bad book. So I don't really feel remorse if I don't reach that ending, because you can't be like, oh, well, Margaret, I know you hated the first half of the book, but there's this great plot twist. Still not going to be more than like a 3-star max if I thought it was a 1-star at the beginning. And going off of that, my number one pet peeve in people talking to me about DNFing is the old, well, you just need to get through this first book, or you just need to get through this chunk of the book and then it gets good. No. If there is a giant chunk of the book or an entire book in the series that I quote, just need to get through to actually get into the story, that's not a good series. Like, a 5-star all-time favorite series does not have a giant chunk that I have to force myself through in order to actually get to the part that I like. There should always be something that keeps me going in the story. I should not be like, I have to read these 10 chapters because then it picks up, according to people on Goodreads. Like, that's never, ever going to be any kind of encouragement for me to actually continue with a book or a series. And yes, I am talking to you, all Gideon the Ninthers and Harry Potter heads. Like, no. If I have to force myself through any part of the story that I dislike so much that I'm literally just reading it to get to the other side, it's not a good series. And those are my confessions and a little bit of tea that I forgot that I'd spilled on that list. So if you are interested in either a Confessions of a Mood Reader, which is my other big reading quirk, or you'd be interested in hearing all about my weird self-insert daydreams for some of the books I read, my Maximum Ride one is also pretty good. I liked that one. So please let me know. I might be convinced to actually talk about my deepest, darkest Tweety Bopper days when I did that religiously. So let me know. And with nothing else to say, I hope you have a wonderful day and a marvelous tomorrow.